Let's start with Soraka's identity. In my eyes, Soraka can be played like a lane bully. Even though the conventional healer seems like she's a passive support, her healing actually allows her to constantly trade throughout laning phase and become obsessively annoying with every auto attack whittling down the enemy's HP. Her goal in laning phase is to hit Qs, get rejuvenation, her passive healing, and land auto attacks while her regen is ticking. This not only negates the enemy's damage, but also does a ton of damage when done multiple times. She's not really an all-in type of laner, more just a massive pain in the back for enemy ADCs and supports. The key to playing Soraka is understanding the value of her auto attacks, and analysing every single minion to see if we can take a position to poke without putting herself in danger. Let's do a quick rundown on all her abilities. Soraka's passive focuses on her movement speed towards low health allies, acting as a really good escape tool or even just entry to the fight. Her Q is her bread and butter ability. In the examples I show later on in this video, you're going to see that the regen gained from landing this Q, the damage it does in addition with the 2 other trades you can do afterwards, really add up. Her W is a standard heal on an ally, but the gimmick is that you can pass the effects of rejuvenation from a Q to allies, meaning they get extra health regen, meaning extra heal. So generally I like to only heal when I land my Qs. E is Soraka's only form of hard CC, and you can use it as a zoning tool or pair of exhausts to snare enemies and go for an all-in. If you're looking for ability order, build, or any of that shenanigans, go to u.gg and follow that until you get her skill set down first, because honestly that's more important. Personally, I recommend level 3 Q into W max and boost rush, but that's up to you. Level 1 is by far one of Soraka's strongest levels against majority of champions, and arguably my favourite level 1 to play. When you walk into lane, you should consider 2 things: having the minion advantage and looking for poke. Right here you can see me hitting the minions, staying in a position where I can poke Kai'Sa as she CS's or tries to push the wave. And these little trades add up over time. You'll see that as soon as I'm ready to hit level 2, and I know we hit it first because of the minion advantage, I'm very happy to get hit by a hook. Now I don't play the rest of this fight very well because I missed my Q and my E, but if I had landed those 2 abilities, this level 2 play would have been insane. Another thing we can talk about in Soraka's laning phase is how we can use her E and why we should never be the one beginning hooked. Being able to land Q and get rejuvenation, applying that to Twitch while he's CC'd, has much more value than us getting crowd controlled and losing our HP. Now when you're playing counter engage with your E, you want to position it so that you block where the enemy C will actually go. In this case, we know that Kai'Sa will want to play aggressively, we can position her right in front of her, and then use our exhaust to make sure she's slowed, which almost guarantees a snare. Those 2 things easily win us this fight, even though we should have technically lost. If you've been enjoying this video so far, make sure to subscribe and keep watching for the next few matchups. Brand and Thresh. Sahiro vs Brand, a matchup that many Sorakas may be afraid of because of its intense poke and potential to all-in you with WQ. Now, level 1 Brand is actually a lot weaker than Soraka, if you didn't know. He only has 1 ability and after that he's pretty much useless. So knowing that, we can play quite aggressively if we land Q, and we can keep taking auto attack trades as long as he wants to. Abusing our bone plating and our passive regen from our Q, we get a lot of value in this trade. And this isn't just specific to Brand, it can apply to champions like Xerath or Lux, where they don't have the sustainability or follow-up CC to all-in you at level 1. When you're playing any matchup, you should really consider the levels of every single champion. Now in this case we don't get level 2 first, but you have to recognize that Brand is also not level 2. So because only Jinx is level 2, and me and Aphelios both hit level 2 in this wave, we can play really aggressively and appeal my intent to pretty much all in this Jinx, because Brand doesn't have his stun, and he doesn't do as much damage, so in a straight 2v2, we should win even if we get hit by everything. It's really important to keep these small level advantages in your mind, because it determines if you should play more aggressively or not. Of course you should always consider the minion wave, but just remember that you will always win the 2v2 flat out. Another thing you can take away from this clip is the way I use E. In the other case, Kai'Sa was moving forward, and it is obvious that she wanted to do an all-in. In that case, I placed it in front of her. In this one, we know that we have the advantage, and it's very unlikely that Jinx wants to walk into us, so we're going to put it slightly behind her in the direction that she's currently going, using our exhaust again to ensure that snare happens. Another concept that's really important to playing Soraka in laning phase is the concept of cooldowns. You should really be understanding that every time they use an ability, if they miss it or if they land it, they won't have that ability for at least a couple of seconds. Especially something like Brand W or Q, which has over 5 or 10 seconds of cooldown timer. When Brand misses his W here, I'm very confident to try and walk up and dodge the EQ combo, or even just land my Q and get an E off on him. And as soon as he throws out Q, I no longer have to be scared of his stun, so I can continue auto attacking him as he walks out. And if he ever disrespects us and tries to stay, well, as you can see, he just gets demolished. Apply this to really any champion, hook champions, mage champions, enchanters. If they ever use an ability too early or miss it, you have a window of opportunity to play and you have to make sure that you abuse that. In this last matchup against Thresh, I'm going to talk about how we try to position ourselves. When you're versing champions whose abilities can be blocked by minions, such as Morgana, Thresh, Blitzcrank, or Ezreal, you want to position yourself in a way that those champions cannot hit you, which is to keep a minion in front of you. And as you're doing this, if you keep applying the same logic as before, using your Q, your auto attack to harass every single time they try to go for minions, you'll find that you have a very easy time dealing with these champions. The last part of this video, we're finally here. Soraka's most important skill that I've been talking about the entire video, her auto attacks. Although it may not seem like much, skillfully mixing autos while we land Q while very healthy makes a difference between a good and bad Soraka. You want to aim for when the ADC looks like they're going to hit a minion, or if the enemy support looks like they want a fist fight. This works because they have to choose between you or the minion, and also makes the enemy feel more pressured. It also becomes easier to land skill shots when they're standing still and in animation to hit something. All these tips will definitely take a lot of experimenting and a lot of failure. However, a lot of these skills are fundamental that will apply not only to Soraka, but a lot of support champions. Let me know in the comments if you had any questions, or if you really like this video, let me know.